So there's been some rumors that the Cleveland Cavaliers would entertain the idea of not trading Kevin Love, which I think is a mistake, and I think they will eventually move him. Whether they really want to or not, I don't know. There's a couple reasons to do this. Number one, they should just bottom out because, well, they're just not that good, and clinging to being a bottom seed in the East or not making the playoffs in the East would just be foolish. On top of, they have a protected first-round pick this season. I believe it's top 10 protected because of the Kyle Korver trade. And the worst thing that could possibly happen for this Cavs team is that Kevin Love is really good and he finds a way to get them like the 11th pick, which would just be a total disaster. So it makes sense to get as many assets as you can in return for Kevin Love. The thing is, I don't think you're going to get just a horde of young players and draft picks for Love. I mean, he's a good player. You could even say very good. Definitely a very good offensive player. Shoots threes, can grab offensive rebounds, attack switches, can post up on some NBA bigs and be successful with it. Be a pick and roll player, pick and pop player. Kevin Love's good. Very good passer as well. We didn't see his passing used as much with the Cavs, but that is something we should remember as well. We saw the full court passes sometimes with Cleveland, but that's another thing he can do on offense. So I think there are definitely a few teams in the NBA who are looking for a bit of a jolt. I think trading for Kevin Love could be a thing, and I also think you could end up getting Love for 2 years because he's got the player option in 2020, but it's like $25 million, and I don't think he would get that if he went into free agency. So you could probably get him for 2 seasons, and then you might have a chance to re-sign him after that. And I think there's some reason to believe that at least his offensive game can age pretty well, because he's got some smarts as a player, and he doesn't rely on athleticism too much. Now, there are fears defensively, and that is something that you sign up for, but if you're a team like the Wizards, for example, who, I mean, to me, they just need to pick a side of the floor and just try to get a player who could really help them out, whether it's offense or defense, and I think Kevin Love could definitely give them a jump start on offense. And I think defensively, between him and Markieff Morris, sure, Morris may be a bit better, but I don't think he's drastically better. But I think Kevin Love is significantly better than Morris is on offense. So that's the type of thing where you could improve quite a bit. As far as what a trade like that would actually be, well, before I dive into the Wizards particularly, them and a couple other teams, let's talk about what would you be willing to give up for Kevin Love. I think if I was a mid-tier NBA team, or even a little better than that, I would be willing to give up a first-round pick if I was confident enough that I could re-sign him in 2 seasons. And I may even give you a young player who's kind of promising, not someone who's pretty much guaranteed to be a really good player, but you look at someone like Kelly Oubre, right? Has been successful for the Wizards at power forward, but his offensive game isn't totally there. His jump shot isn't totally there. He's not the smartest player in the world. Oubre at the 4 for the Wizards was good, but, Kevin Love is definitely a better player than Kelly Oubre is right now. If a team who is potentially in the lottery next season, they're like kind of on the brink, were to trade for Kevin Love, then I'm sure there would be some protections on it, which I suppose the Cavs would not be thrilled with, because you would like to get some guaranteed assets if you're going to be going on a long rebuild, but at the same time, if you can get something for the guy, then that would be good. And if we can go back to the Wizards, I mean, to make the money work, it would have to be a combination of like Jan Mahimi, Kelly Oubre, and then you include like Jody Meeks or Jason Smith. So you could make that work. And then if you could still have Markieff Morris to back up Kevin Love, then that could allow you to still be a decently versatile team. You could experiment with Love at the 5 and Morris at the 4, and I mean, Kevin Love with John Wall, it kind of writes itself, right? Pick and rolls, pick and pops, and then you could have quite a bit of shooting with, Beal and Porter and Kevin Love. I mean, that's a thing that you could go to, and sure, I don't think that makes you an awesome defensive team, but I think you could at least maintain where you're at on defense, and then offensively you could progress quite a bit. So I wouldn't be faulting the Wizards if they were to get in on Kevin Love sweepstakes. Now, at the same time, this is a team that has moved a few first-round picks in recent years, and I mean, there's value in just drafting well, of course, but a pick into the somewhat future, maybe 2020, could be a thing that you explore. And then for the Cavs, you get Oubre, you get a first, you already have Colin Sexton, of course, and then you can just be bad and try to have the top pick in the draft, and you go that route. Another team that I think should definitely think about Kevin Love at least is the Indiana Pacers. I don't think this one is as sure of a thing. The thing with the Pacers is that all their advanced stats are really weird because a lot of their wins last season were close and a lot of their losses were blowouts. So as a result, it's like they're mid-tier in offense and defense, but they still won 48 games. So I think for them, you have to pay attention to the personnel a little bit more, and what I would say there is they definitely need a second scorer next to Oladipo. Now, you could argue that just banking on Miles Turner becoming that is maybe a safer bet than Kevin Love, and you can keep assets. There's also the fact of, I think, Thad Young with Miles Turner gives them some pretty decent athleticism up front, which helps them out defensively. Of course, Oladipo being really good on defense helps that too. Kevin Love would throw a monkey wrench into that whole thing, but you would also probably get a bit better on offense as well. And the shooting of Kevin Love combined with Miles Turner, that could be something. But then you also look at it and you say, well, Sabonis had himself a pretty decent second season playing the center position, being an offensive rebounder, a hustle guy, a roller to the rim. And Kevin Love being there could knock his minutes down, and given that he's only 21 years old, there's a chance that he could end up being pretty damn good. We'll have to wait and see. I think there are some signs that he could develop as a shooter, given that his form looks okay. He had some shooting moments with the Thunder, and he shot 75% from the free throw line this year for Indiana, given he didn't take that many. But it's little stuff combined with the fact that he's 21 years old that maybe you would just want to stay kind of young if you're the Pacers, because, I mean, Turner's 22, Sabonis is 22, Oladipo a little older. He's going to be probably 27 next season, because I don't know when his birthday is. So that would be an interesting one for the Pacers. Now, the Pacers do have themselves a couple of contracts that are in double figures, whether it's Darren Collison or Bogdanovich. I believe Al Jefferson just got bought out, or he had a non-guaranteed season or something like that for them. But, you can make the money work. They have all of their first-round picks moving forward. So I think you could get a deal done because, again, I don't think the Cavs should expect this massive group of draft picks and stuff in return for Kevin Love. He's a good player, but where does he really rank in the NBA hierarchy? Another team that I thought was pretty interesting is actually the Hornets, a team that is desperate to just be decent and convince Kemba Walker to stay. And hey, Kemba Walker and Kevin Love together, that would be a pretty damn good offensive 1-2 punch, one that could be tough to deal with for some NBA teams, and given that the Eastern Conference is not exactly the best conference in the world, hey, could they fight and claw their way to the 4th seed with that 1-2 punch? Potentially. I mean, Cleveland's going to fall out. Then you got the Raptors, Celtics, and Sixers, and then after that, it's just kind of a free-for-all. Now, as far as that move, how would that go? Well, again, it helps that Charlotte's got all of their picks. I think Cody Zeller, not in the trade, but Cody Zeller as the center to help out Kevin Love would be pretty good. You'd probably have to move Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and then maybe someone like a Jeremy Lamb, which are two, if you want to call MKG young at this point, he's about to be 25, and I think the idea of him being a shooter is kind of out the window. I mean, he's 6 seasons in at this point. So I can understand the hesitation in that one, but you're definitely not going to get Malik Monk. I would assume you won't, at least. But I think that's one that the Charlotte Hornets, I mean, go for it, you know? Like, if you can get Kemba Walker to stay, and you can just be a decent team for X amount of years, and then once Kemba is too old or whatever, then you just, you know, go into the rebuild. I mean, whatever. It's better than nothing. But I think you only do that move if you're pretty confident that Kemba wants to stay, you know? And it does seem like he enjoys his time in Charlotte quite a bit. But, you know, it is also the last year, and I can understand wanting to move him as well, to get your own rebuild started. So Charlotte's an interesting one there. If we were going to go look at the Western Conference, I kind of love Kevin Love with the Jazz for obvious reasons, but it seems like they're all in on the Favors Gobert thing. The Trailblazers would be interesting. This is the type of team that I think could really profit off of Kevin Love's market being potentially not the best, just because, you know, again, he's a good player, but whatever I just said. They have all their picks. They are desperate to turn some of their bad contracts, specifically Evan Turner and Myers Leonard, into actual NBA players. That would be a pretty significant upgrade, going from someone like an Evan Turner to a Kevin Love. The problem there is, well, I don't know if it's a problem, but you'd have to give Cleveland probably Caleb Swanigan, because I don't think you want to give up Zach Collins, because at least I think he's got a lot of potential. Maybe you'd be willing to do it anyway. I mean, this is the type of thing where you're just trying to maximize your time with Lillard and McCollum, right? Because this team just embodies mediocrity right now, or maybe being slightly above average. I mean, to their credit, they were like the 3rd seed, but they're the distant 3rd seed from the top of the West. So, yeah, and I mean, they were only a couple of games away from being the 8th seed. So, you know, this team just desperately needs something, and you get Kevin Love in there, really quality offensive 3-man team with Lillard, McCollum, Love. That could be a thing. I'd be down for that. So, yeah, and there's definitely other teams that could explore the idea of a Kevin Love move, but those are just the 3 that I kind of think of, or however many teams it was. The Wizards, the Pacers, the Hornets, the Blazers, 4 teams. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I do think Kevin Love will be moved because it makes sense to do it. There's no point in going all out for the 7th seed.